Hello everyone, it's Ben from the chair here to give you a TV series review today, and it is of this person right here, Ted. The TV show Ted on Peacock. Yeah, this is Seth MacFarland's Ted from the movies from 2012 and 2015 in a TV series format, and I think it works really well. This stars Max Burkholder as John, and Seth MacFarlane plays Ted. Alana Uberk, can't really pronounce her name properly, as Susan, his mum, and we got Scott Grimes as Maddie Bennett, and then we have Georgina Wiggum, I think that's how you pronounce her name, as Blair, the cousin. In the first episode, episode one, which is 50 minutes, so it's nearly a decent hour, we had John and Ted. Ted accidentally shoots a gun and breaks the TV, so he has to. It's suggested that he goes to school with John, but Ted was like, "No, I'm gonna get expelled." So he tries to get expelled, but Blair is a weird character because to me, every time it's sort of the dynamic of the TV show is it kind of starts off with sort of them sort of John and Ted talking about something. Then there's a dinner scene where Blair and Maddie are talking about something, especially in the first episode where he's talking about kind of like Italians and stuff. I don't know what I can get away with on YouTube, but they're talking about something, and she's saying it's racist. He's saying it isn't, and she's going all kind of woke on him by saying, he's racist every 2 seconds, and he's thinking, oh God, she's basically, um, um, one of these woke lots that Seth MacFarlane is just sort of kind of making fun of, because you've got stereotypes. You've got the old American kind of bloke in Maddie, and then you've got Susan, who's like the deadbeat wife who just wants to make everyone happy, and then you've got kind of John and Ted, and then you've got Blair trying to be this kind of new woke, everything's wrong and I'm going to fix the world type of thing. But yeah, you think, oh no, she's going to be the most unlikable character on earth. And in the first episode, she kind of is. This one scene, she's literally um, saying something, and then Matty's saying something, and it's like, oh no, these written stereotypes. But it's, I don't know, you kind of think, well, she's right in some ways. It's really odd. The jokes between kind of Blair and Ted are absolutely gold. It's so fast I can't really tell you what they were, but Ted finds out that the only way to get expelled is to have drugs on him, and then he decides to get drugs on him to get expelled, but it doesn't work because the headmistress of the school says that she wants to make an example of him. No matter what he does, he's not going to get expelled. So they kind of just get on with it. They managed to get a school bully called Clive, who just literally just bullies them and even bullies Ted. So they find out that to get drugs is actually Blair, who Blair's partner, who sells Ted the drugs, and that's how the Ted and John get into marijuana, because it's so Blair does have a kind of full circle um in this episode where she's like, you think she's goody two shoes, but then she sells pop. So it's a full circle episode, especially for Blair. Episode two is Two Dads. Um, John and Ted decide to get their own back on Clive by they realise that through information in class that no, from information from their mum Susan, that Clive's dad isn't around, so they decide to get their own back by ringing him up and saying his dad wants to meet him, and can he come in a certain dress, certain clothing, I should say. So yeah, that's a funny episode, and it kind of backfires because they kind of want him to succeed in things like a maths test and stuff like that. So it kind of backfires on them, and they actually become close with him. You only really see him in, like, I think it's like 3 of the episodes, maybe 4. He's not in all of them. So yeah, that's episode 2. Episode 3, John realizes that he's one of the only people that has never watched a adult film, and there's just right at the beginning. There's just like they go into a video store after seeing after Blair picks them up from seeing Jurassic Park, and they're arguing about that Spielberg had used real dinosaurs, and Blair's like, no, they didn't, and even Ted's like, yeah, they did. So and they go into the video store to get some dinosaur films out because they want to watch more dinosaur films, and they stumble across the adult section, and they say, well, and then this English kind of Family Guy cutaway comes along where they go really English, and it didn't really fit for me. It was okay, but it was like it went on a bit too long, and it went on. It just it happens a few times in this series. They have a few cutaways. Sometimes you think they're going to do a cutaway, and they don't. Um, the one thing that I forgot to mention, they do have a narrator like they do in the original Ted movies, but it isn't Patrick Stewart this time. It is Ian McKellen. So Ian McKellen, he literally appears in, I think it's like the 4th episode, I think, and then the 1st episode or something like that. He says like 4 lines. It probably took him about 20 minutes to do at some point. But yeah, they going back to episode 3, they try and like forge driving licenses so they can get IDs so they can get these adult films out, and then the VCR breaks, and so it's Ted that comes up with the harebrained schemes that kind of get him and Johnny in trouble in all the episodes. But yeah, and it is quite funny. Episode 4 is where it's called Subways, Bicycles, and Automobiles, which is obviously a play on words and planes, trains, and automobiles. So, episode 4, John and Ted are making Halloween plans, but Blair wants to go to her Halloween party and wants to get drunk. So she asks Ted to be a designated driver, but that means he can't be with John. I think this episode is needed because Ted and Blair kind of bond in this episode. Ted thinks that her English teacher is trying to hit on her or trying to make him go out with her. So he kind of protects her. It's kind of a growing episode, I think, where she sees Ted in a different light without John around, and I think that was needed to grow the series of all the characters together. So Blair and Ted grow, and Matty isn't so hard on Blair as the series goes on. So Ted and Blair needed that episode. I think it's really funny. Ted tries to play pool and ends up breaking it. It just somehow just random. I mean, I can't remember every joke, just certain things just pick up on each episode. I mean, this episode, they borrowed the teacher's bike to go home and end up doing an E.T. moment. That's quite funny. Yeah, I think this is a good episode. Then we have episode 5, Desperately Seeking Susan. Matty and Susan are kind of bickering about, or Blair points out that Matty always puts Susan down. So Blair suggests that they go to marriage counselling, and she suggests it's going to be a Christmas present for them, and basically it turns out that Susan was ready to become a teacher when she kind of got pregnant with John and got with Matty, and she kind of gave up on a career. And so she manages, because the teachers left, to teach John's class at school, because Blair convinces Susan to try for a teaching job, and John and Ted put her name forward, and she gets the job. And Ted literally rips the pee out of this girl in class, because she's picking on Susan, and he comes out with the most one-liners about, I don't know, she's had a bad nose job, and and other sexual things that I'm not going to mention, because I'm not going to ruin every joke for you, and I don't quite know what I can say on YouTube, to be fair. But yeah, you can imagine the thing. Um, um, so yeah, and it was laugh out loud funny. Um, but in the end of the day, Susan, being the caring person she is, Forrest feels sorry for this girl and kind of helps her. So that's episode 5. Episode 6, I found a bit weird, because it's a plot device that they keep using again and again and again. It's Christmas time, and in the Bennett household, and they're arguing about, stuff as they have done in this episode, and they decide to get rid of some junk and give it to kind of charity for Christmas, and they get rid of this old truck, and Matty said, no, I don't want to get rid of this truck. And he's like bickering about it with Blair and Susan, and then he's like, I love this truck. And as usual in the Ted universe, a flying star comes along, and he wishes that his truck come alive, and it does. And it's a bit like, why this episode was a bit weird. I've In the end, it's Matty's growing episode where he can see how bad the truck is, when he's talking about stuff near the end. But it doesn't feel right, this episode. I don't like the truck. It kind of breaks, it makes Ted look really human. I suppose he's had longer in the world than a 3-day truck, but when a 3-day truck says he's the way he is, I think, well, that's a bit odd. Um, there's some things in this episode that are hilarious. Um, Ted thinks he's Jesus and arguing with the pastor about whether he's Jesus because he comes alive, and he come randomly, and he presses him, and he said, well, only God loves us, and he pressed his chest and he said, I love you. That was really funny. Him arguing with the pastor, that was quite funny. So the episode is a bit of a mixture. Um, I just, I don't know. I, I do, we didn't know that Susan can sing in this episode either. Susan can sing really well. She hasn't. They kind of given her a really annoying voice, for this character, kind of really drawn, really kind of slow, and it's just she's a lovely lady, but my God. Um, but it's obviously done on purpose. But yeah, this episode was funny, but the truck, I don't know, just pushes it too far for me. I didn't like this episode as much. I like bits that were funny with Ted, but not a lot else. But it is a growing episode for Matty. Then we have episode 7, where John and Ted are getting ready for the freshman year prom, and John's never gone on a date before, and never had a girlfriend before, and he's never kind of lost his virginity. This episode's about that, and all I'm gonna say is Ted in a bra. It was really funny, where he, was trying to help John get ready for his date and telling him, how he should treat women, and Blair kind of talks to John about the prom and realizes, overhears Ted about John wanting to lose his virginity, and Blair's like to Matty and Susan, you got to talk to John about the birds and the bees, and they don't really want to, and they end up doing so in their own weird way. It's just leading up to the prom, him buying condoms and stuff. It was just as you would expect it to go. Um, um, Ted takes John and his girlfriend on a date, driving them around as if they're in Aladdin, and kind of ends badly. Um, I like this episode a lot, and right at the end, you get the genesis of the Thunder song. So I've been waiting for that the entire season, and they leave it right to the end. Seth MacFarland, you little stud. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this series. Um, I really did enjoy like 6 out of the 7 episodes. I enjoyed parts of episode 6, but I don't know. I hope there's at least one more season. At some point in a couple of years. I really hope so. According to the early reports or articles I've read, it is the most watched thing on Peacock that is new. So it's the broken records for the most watched thing on Peacock of all time. So opening record, so that bodes well for maybe another series or something. I hope so, because I think it works better as a series. Kind of longer format, and you can kind of spread it out. And I do like the younger John as well, because you kind of know what he's going to grow into, but you're enjoying the hope of Blair telling him that he's going to be something better and break the Bennett curse when you know he doesn't in the end. He spends his life watching Flash Gordon and smoking pot, so Blair's faith in him, he's misguided in the end. But you don't know, John doesn't know that. I really enjoyed this series. Everybody should give it a watch that's enjoyed Ted, the movies. So if you've enjoyed Ted movies, don't be afraid to watch this. It is really funny. And yeah, this is going to come on Sky Max. This is a Peacock thing or a Sky Max thing. It's coming on Sky Max on February the 9th. So yeah. I really enjoyed it. So if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video. And say goodbye, Ted. Bye bye, Ted. Bye, everyone.